you have these two total polar opposites ends of the spectrum. The athletes who are stressed because they don't have a race coming up and they're frustrated and disappointed with it, so they're training less because they're unmotivated and they're wasting all their energy on being disappointed. So they're having more stress in their life, they're exercising less. And then you have the other athletes who are like, this is gravy, baby. I can have more time to train. And guess what? If I want to just take the day and hang out with my family and kids, guess what I feel? Zero guilt, zero shame. I'm doing it and I'm just moving on. Because there is so much to be, I think, learned and gained from committing yourself to a long-term process, but then attaching yourself to one that should be never ending.
Start recording. What's happening, buddy? How are ya? Hello.
Hey,
How
there
are
we
ya?
are. My laptop just kind of trolls me sometimes. It lets me mute like any incoming sounds once we get rolling, and if I do it prematurely, like before you and I get on, it's like I can't hear anything. I think it just
Oh,
messes. It just messes with me on purpose. But hey,
trust me, I wasn't saying anything worth listening to anyway.
yeah, I wasn't sure if you did, but hey, hopefully we can say something of value today on our podcast. Welcome aboard, Crushing Iron Podcast, episode 368. That is 368. It is what's today?
Special,
Yeah,
special
it is
cast.
special cast, April 27th, 2020. And we appreciate you tuning in. We hope you had a wonderful weekend. We hope you enjoyed getting outside, doing things fun, or if you did a virtual race or just kind of hung tight and isolated and did your own thing. We hope you're hanging in there, you're hanging tough, and you're making the best of, a difficult, but, I think difficult situation. But I think there's plenty that we can take away that's positive. So thanks for giving us your time. We'll do our best to deliver a podcast for your enjoyment today.
Yes, we will. We will indeed. And I haven't stopped thinking about you since that draft, man. You
I'm
guys.
thinking about, I'm blushing over here.
It was. Woo. I have no idea. I think I'm happy for you. I don't know about that pick with Tua, but Miami
You know,
Dolphins pick Tua, whatever
yeah,
his last
yeah,
name is, from
Tua time.
Alabama.
Yeah, and listen, there's, first off, yeah, we do talk about triathlon. It's first time listening. Just hang tough for a minute. I'm a
Sorry.
diehard Dolphins fan. Uh, but yeah, if you're not a Dolphins fan, you might not know this, but we drafted two at number 5. I don't think you can pass on him even with a great risk, because I think, as Bill Polian said, longtime GM of the Indianapolis Colts, is that you pick him and he ends up getting injured and you get fired, or you pass on him and he becomes great and you get fired. So so like you just pick him, and I think a guy like that has so many like really solid intangibles, and it's kind of a type A alpha male guy that's also just what seems like just a really, really good leader. That's the kind of guy that we need and that we look for. And we are never going to come out of the shadows of making a epic mistake with Drew Brees. So I don't know if many people know this, but way back in the early 2000s or even late 90s, when Drew Brees was going into free agency, coming out of playing for the San Diego Chargers, he was having some shoulder issues. The Dolphins brought him in. They were super interested. They were like, yeah, let's bring him in. Drew Brees seems like a good idea. And they went through the physical, and they were like, I don't know. He's got an injury history. I think we should pass on Drew Brees. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go with Dante Culpepper.
Mm.
And the rest is history. The rest is history for Drew Brees, who's a Super Bowl champion with the New Orleans Saints, an incredible career, shattered so many records, and ever since then, the Dolphins, we have gone through, I think, like a league high, maybe besides Cleveland Browns and quarterbacks. So yeah, I think that kind of played a role in it, in the decision to kind of just take a shot. But hey, I'm all about it. Brian Flores, if it was his call or part of it, I'm all for it. I think he's going to be a great coach. And with Tom Brady now with the Bucks, I'm pumped because we actually have a shot, and I just can't wait to sit back this year and watch all the New England Patriots fan. You guys are going to suck this year, and I can't wait to watch it.
Oh man, he threw the
I
cannon.
can't
What do you
wait.
call it? Bow across the cannon or whatever.
I can't. Shot
Well,
across the bow.
yeah,
Can't
if
wait.
they have an NFL season.
Yeah, yeah, they're gonna have it. I'm just saying they're gonna have something.
Gonna
People are
have
people. We're
something.
gonna find a way. That things that are important to us, we're gonna find a way. This podcast is important to us, so we're finding a way. Uh, but hey, again, it's your first time listening. We cover all things triathlon, life, the occasional NFL draft breakdown of the Miami Dolphins. But we keep it light. We keep it conversational style. No sponsors, no ads. We cover. We have interviews on occasion with specific people. We do race recaps. We do race previews. We do it all. We try to really cover the gamut of what triathlon is with training and life and racing, the things you need, the things you don't need. We try to keep it general, but really just to kind of decipher it all and cut through the noise and the chaos and provide you with just some really solid, easily digestible information that you can apply to your own life in any way you want. Take some and take it all, or take some and leave the rest. But that's what we do. We hope to do that again today as we find ourselves in an ever-changing triathlon life with virtual events kind of taking over. And I think now in the next few weeks, people seeing maybe some hope for races coming to a venue near you in certain formats. But hey, that's what we do. I got a few topics today. But I figured I'd let you ramp in and see if you had anything on your mind this morning.
Well,
I feel like you don't, but I'm just I'm gonna toss the ball to you anyway.
dude, I was immersed in triathlon all weekend, doing a lot
You
of
were.
writing.
Go a little. I want you to go into that for a minute because you were like you were Mr. Social Media, Mr. Posting, Mr. This. I was like, who is this guy? Like, is somebody taking over? Isolation's doing crazy things to people, and it is like you've become a social media wizard.
Well, I started figuring out that what's that called? iGram in
Who?
Instagram.
Buddy, I don't know. I haven't been on Instagram in over a
Kidding
year.
me. No, but I started doing. I was doing a lot of writing. I did want to point out one other thing to you and maybe new people coming in, and I've been kind of digging around. I've been watching some people about, I just like digging around on this whole virus thing and figuring out immune system things and whatever. And I've been following this guy, and he's really getting popular kind of in the underground. And I'm not going to talk about him or what he's doing, Andrew. And it's not the guy you just texted me about, buddy. But uh, they asked because he's getting real popular. So now he's getting like hundreds of requests to be on, like what's that dude's name? London Real, that guy, like all these sort of bigger podcasts, and he's turning them all down because he's got this thing. He says, I want to go bottom up. I don't want to go Hollywood celebrity. He goes, I got, hundreds of people want me on their podcast now, and it's all about their numbers, and they're trying to sell me on, just popping right to the top or whatever. And it just reminded me kind of how we, go about it. We're kind of low key about it. And sort of a bottom up approach. We just want to, put out good information, and we're not like trying to, get the advertising thing going and blow up everything. We're just sort of doing our thing. So, and keeping it sort of, I guess, real. And I just wanted to point that out because I thought that was interesting that he brought that up, that he had all these opportunities and he's passing on them. And it just also reminds me of, just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to if it doesn't fit within your thing. So you asked me about the post I made, the isolation post. Is that what you're
Both,
going to ask me
yeah,
about?
both of them. I think you had a really awesome blog post that you put on that you put up that was put in the hub. But you just had a lot. I mean, you posted a lot of good stuff this weekend, the beginner's guide, and then also I think that the
Oh yeah,
isolation
the
thing
beginner's guide.
really struck a chord with a lot of people in terms of how I think a lot of people are feeling and having a difficult time maybe voicing it in terms of, because listen, one of my biggest pet peeves, and I know this is yours too, about social media in general and really just life in general, is how quickly people are to like totally jump on someone's bandwagon, or not band someone's case for being irresponsible or stupid or whatever. And frankly, I wish those people would just shut their mouths. Like, let people have their own opinion, let them feel the way they want to feel, and just move on. Why is
Mm,
it your business, and why should you care so much? And let me just say this real quick.
yeah.
If you've ever done anything irresponsible in your entire life, everyone raises hand. We've all done something stupid and irresponsible in our life. Then stop shaming people and telling them they're being irresponsible.
Oh, or
None of
said
us are
something
perfect. My
stupid?
God, just shut your mouth. Literally, just shut it. If you can't shut it, get off social media, walk around your neighborhood, take a break, then come back. But keep that to yourself. Be positive. The amount of complaining and just like piling on and just like jumping on people's cases for whatever it is, like, people are doing their best. to live their life right now with restraints, with stress, with work, with the economy, with their kids, whatever it is. Like everyone's world in one way, shape, or another has been in total upheaval. And people are struggling in ways that you can't even fathom. Like
Yeah.
they used to have like that, well, like before you judge somebody, walk a mile in their shoes. Well, now we all have one same shoe, the left one, that we're all kind of dealing with this like whole thing together. But you still don't know what the other one is for somebody and how this is affecting them. So just give everybody a break. Like just totally like give people a break and relax and just focus on yourself and do your best for you, and then hopefully you can have a positive impact on other people.
Yeah. Let's do that, man. Um, Now the article, the article I posted, I have posted that on our website, C26 Triathlon. I titled the article "The Problem with Social Distancing," and like I said, before anybody rips on me for that, I'm not talking about. I think it's wrong. I'm just trying to say how it affects triathletes, and for me, the crux of it just sort of boils down to the fact that um, there's this thing, right? It's called depression that people deal with a lot of times, and it's a big deal. And I joke about isolation, like I like it, and I kind of do. I'm more comfortable with it. I think a lot of triathletes kind of tend to be pretty comfortable in isolation, work out alone a lot, and long rides, and they kind of deal that, and they're good with it. But the problem is that one of the best remedies for depression they've found is social interaction. So here we are being forced to kind of stay in our own worlds and not be able to interact. And I just think that there's something to keep an eye on there and keep aware of and realize that when when you are depressed or down a little bit, that means your immune system is probably vulnerable, and that's a big stressor. And I'm a big immunity builder type person, and I believe we are strong and can fight through a lot of stuff if we're healthy. And I just wanted to point that out that if you're not hitting your numbers or you're feeling fatigued or you can't like get on the right track right now, be easy on yourself because you are feeling a load of stress that you can't really recognize or don't maybe or can't put a finger on, and but it's really legit. And I know you're seeing it with your athletes, and I keep seeing people posting that they're just not quite there. They can't figure out why. They've been training so long, and they sort of have a race coming up. They're supposed to be having a race, and they're just not on their game, and they're bumming. And I just, it's sort of that unspoken or unseen um, weight that we're carrying around that is heavier than we think. So,
I think the biggest thing that I think we all need to focus on right now is ourselves. And I know we're on that rant a minute ago, but we all seek out fitness and this endurance sport journey in whatever way we're trying to express it, whether it's through triathlon, whether it's through running, whether cycling, swimming, Spartan races, whatever your flavor is. We pick something that appeals to us that we can partner with something that we're likely seeking improvement on or struggling with. And right now, we've had that basically flipped upside down because you've either been restricted in a way that you've used this avenue of fitness and endurance sports to help. I say the word medicate in a positive frame in terms of the fact that a lot of us use fitness and use endurance sports to help us medicate or mitigate any other feelings or thoughts or anxiety or depression or changes in our lives that we're looking to change or we're looking to intervene on or we're trying to overcome certain obstacles. And while I think one of the biggest things that people are struggling with, I see this with athletes that I work with, the ones that have been affected the most are the ones who kind of work their way backwards. They pick a race and then the race is always at the front even though the race is just a day. The ones that really fall into the post-race depression category or post-race blues category is that the race is what it is. And now with so many not happening or the unfamiliar territory, I don't know when I'm going to again, they're finding that their motivation and their level of concentration or even commitment to the process has been totally disrupted. because it's all around central around one thing, this one day, this one race, and whatever kind of value they're looking to bring to their own lives from just competing in a one day event. Their whole life has been like totally upside down. I hate that this is doing this, or hate that the virus is doing this to us. And I hate, well, you know what? We choose to let things affect us in a way. Life happens one way or the other. Life is going to happen in a way, and it's all about the way you respond. How you respond to things is how you can make things positive or negative. Like personally, this last week, Allie and I, we were talking over the weekend. We had a much, much, much better week with Hayden this week. And it wasn't like, and so your first thing is to think, oh, he was so much better this week. No, he wasn't. He was the exact same. We, as a couple, as parents, did a much better job parenting him this weekend. We looked back at our
Mm.
mistakes. We looked at, how could we not escalate issues that he was having if he was having a hard time expressing his emotions. He's been stuck inside. He doesn't have a routine. Some days are rainy. We can't go outside. How we're balancing his screen time and with books and coloring and meeting his needs, and the fact that he's just not getting the things that kids needs right now, in terms of, socially being around other kids and daycare. And we were just doing a very poor job of preventing like escalating tantrums or meltdowns, however you want to call it, from just like not just totally going through the roof. And then this last week we read a little bit and we started a book together, and we decided to really focus on making some changes, and it made all the difference in the world. Not only did he have a better week in terms of the fact that we didn't, push him in a direction that was causing him to have more stress, but for us, it caused us less stress, right? Because we're now, not dealing with him feeling like he's super stressed out. And so it was a collective unit in terms of us making things not worse, but it was also the effect on us individually was huge. And nothing changed. We're still in shelter in place. He still can't go to school. Our work demands are the exact same. It's just, hey, we decided to say, hey, we can either make this miserable and just start complaining and think, when is this going to be over? Or we can look inside and think we have an opportunity and we have the responsibility, which I think we like to not have sometimes, is the responsibility is on us. We can bemoan and complain and look for all the negative things and just, bitch and moan about this and this and this and this is ruining this. And like, well, we have an opportunity to make a change and make this into a more positive experience. And we have
Mm.
that with training right now. Like everyone was, all the people that were so disappointed in Ironman Texas not happening, and what happened. Well, one of our athletes, Summer Scandress, texted me during the race, or when the race would have been happening, which was about like I think around like 1 or 2 o'clock Texas time on Saturday, when Ironman Texas would have been happening,
Yep.
and texted me a picture of this gigantic, massive storm that was blowing through the entire Hardy Toll Road, which is where the majority, like 85-90% of the entire bike course is on. They would have 100% pulled people off the course. Pull totally. They'd have pulled them off course. So so my response was, see, everything happens for a reason. Like you say, you can't go back and look at it, but there's always a bright side to something if you decide to look for it. If you want to find the darkness and the sadness and the disappointment and take that route of the complaint train, then have at it. But if you also want to find ways to be successful and find positives, then you can do that too. So much of life is a choice. It is 100% a choice. You can either make it bad or not. And I have never met a single person where you can call them naive, call them uninformed, that they're always half glass full. But you know what? I would say that their life is much better than
Hmm.
people who always have the glass half. Well, you're just not looking at things, realistically. Like, we're gonna. Well, that's fine. If you want to sit on your couch and judge everyone and feel like the world is going to end and nothing's going to be positive, then have fun. Because I can't imagine what that does for you from an anxiety standpoint. I know this. I know you've had bouts with, you even touched on this in your blog post about bouts of like anxiety, like where you just feel like, even I have before. It's like my chest gets really tight. I'm like, all right, what did I just do? What avenue did I just drive down that led me to this thought process that has now got me to this super uncomfortable feeling. And for me, if I look back on it, it's like, oh, all those things that led to that was 100% a choice. I chose to read this article. I chose to scroll through Facebook. I chose to look on this news website. You know what I don't need to do? Any of that. I
None
don't
of it.
have to do any of it. So all I've done the last 1 or 2 weeks is just totally bailed on it. And my
Yeah.
life has been significant. It's so much about choices.
Yeah, and I love what you said about Hayden, and he hasn't changed. You guys just had a different perspective or approach to how you were looking at what was going on around him and with him. And that's how I think about it, man. I know for sure that I'm going my best when things don't bug me. Like I can see at that point in that moment that no matter how screwed up and jacked up anything seems, it's all perfect at that moment. You know what I mean? Like everything is always perfect. And if we're in a good state of mind, we can always see that and step back from it and be in a different perspective. I got my neighbor's horn alarm is going
Yeah,
off,
I
and
can
now
see.
I'm
I mean, it
distracted.
sounds like there's like a crime going on over there. You just gotta just stay in the zone,
see,
baby. Just
see,
stay in
there's
the zone.
crime everywhere. I'm nervous. No, it's but seriously, I think of it as, I almost think about it as like kind of rolling through different states of consciousness. You know, sometimes we're really edgy and anxious and angry or whatever. I just feel like that's sort of a valid and just one of the different levels of consciousness we can kind of be in. And we're overreactive and nervous and anxious and depressed or whatever. But if we're on a little bit of a higher plane, and that's sort of like calm and relax and more in the moment, if you want to call it that, then you just sort of look at things and you look at them differently, and you can see, like you're saying, the opportunity in something that may look dire in the moment, and that's just a big way of looking at things for me. And I know if I am in a good spot, I I'm just not as affected by that stuff. And again, to go down rabbit holes of the news and the media and just digging for things that sort of and that's the other thing we do a lot. And if we're in a bad state of mind, or a good state of mind, I think that those are both contagious, and we sort of it's like, I don't know if they call it virtue signaling or whatever, but we sort of look for things that reinforce how we're feeling. So it's important, I think, to be out of that level of consciousness where you're kind of like in a bad place and you keep digging for something worse to show that you're right. You know, it's sort of like that's what we do. That's what's so interesting about the internet to me, is that no matter what side of the fence, any fence we're on, we can always find something that supports it.
Oh,
So,
for
and
sure. Like that, we all do that. It's like that's. I think it's human nature. All right. It's
yeah,
like
oh, it's
we're
totally.
always we're always going to look for even like the good or the bad, which I find fascinating. Like you really want to like you really have your eye on this car, and you look, the first two reviews you find are like very poor, terrible car, don't buy it, and you're like, those are made by really shoddy
They're full of
companies. Like
shit.
they're full of shit, dude. Then you find one that's made from like the guy that made the car, and he's like, oh, I give this a 5 out of 5. You're like, boom, see, told you, I was on the right track. Then you go buy it. Same thing goes for negative stuff. You're feeling under the weather, you're doing this, you look up online, it's like, no, you're not sick, you don't have a cold, live your life. And you're like, I probably need to keep digging to find the most serious, severe thing that could be happening right now in my life. And I need to gravitate towards that. We always look to confirm. It's confirmation biasing is a phrase they use for it. It's like we always look, and you know what else? This is, I find the worst thing for people right now is know who your friends are. If your friends are people who are making your life worse by making you more stressed, more anxious, feel more pressure, telling you
Reinforcing.
this, like that's another thing. Like shed that from your life. Get rid of it. Like there are so many things that you can, like, oh, you got to have a race, you got to have a race, you got to have a race to train. No, you don't. Like, you know what else? Like I found it really fascinating as a coach, like the athletes that have been inconsistent or finding a hard time to find motivation because there's not a quote unquote race coming up. And then the other end of the spectrum, you have athletes who are like, I'm so glad that I don't have a race coming up because now I have more time. I don't have to pressure train. I don't have to stress so much about missing a workout this week. I'm probably not going to race for a month or two, so why should I be stressed? Like so you have these two total polar opposites ends of the spectrum. The athletes who are stressed because they don't have a race coming up and they're frustrated and disappointed with it, so they're training less because they're unmotivated and they're wasting all their energy on being disappointed and not being able to figure out when they're going to race again. That's just so frustrating to me. Like I just can't figure out, and these race directors aren't getting back to me, and like my whole life has like been turned up. So they're having more stress in their life. They're exercising less, and then you have the other athletes who are like, this is gravy, baby. Like I can have more time to train. And guess what? If I want to just take the day and hang out with my family and kids, guess what I feel? Zero guilt, zero shame. I'm doing it and I'm just moving on. Because there is so much to be, I think, learned and gained from committing yourself to a long-term process, but then attaching yourself to one that should be never ending, a never-ending process. Like it was one of the I was going through Training Peaks last night, and the one athlete specifically was like, "Yeah, I really hated to, I had such a good week," and so we leave these like weekly feedbacks for stuff, and he was like, "I had such a good week, but I was really just kind of disappointed on how the week ended," and I just kind of commented to him, and I was like, "You, it was one workout in a week of hundreds of workouts in a year of thousands you're going to do for your life. We put so it's just I find it really fascinating the amount of weight we can put behind something so insignificant as a run session or a bike session or missing a swim. Like the amount of weight we put, and I understand this because I've been there before, is that often is just more of an insight into what you are hoping and needing to gain from it. That is basically if fitness and exercise was a person, was you're just being really, really unfair to your fitness friend to expect so much out of a 30-minute run that if you don't get it out of it, then your life and your day has been ruined.
Mhm.
Like the ability to just let things roll off your back or to not hold hold on tight to this negative experience and just take things for what they are as they are. It's just a bike ride. It's just a run. And while it can make you feel good and while it has a purpose in this huge process and this experience that we're trying to have, it is just a run. And to reshape the way that you think around that, it's it, I know this because I used to, and I'm telling you this from 100% personal experience. Like
You've been there.
I've been there, man. Like you know this, I've been there. Like everything I needed so much, and I think that's also why things have been like magnified right now. Is that we put so much behind a workout or a session because right now we just need it. Like I just need this to go one way from me. The rest of my life is totally uncontrollable. My kids are wearing me out. Then I got the schoolwork for them. Then I got work. Then I got spouse. Like I'm just being pulled. I just need one thing for me, and that thing has to be perfect, and it has to be a win. And what that can do to you if it just doesn't turn out to be your version of or expectation of what good is. Like right now you're seeing so many like representations of one of my favorite quotes, which is expectations are just future resentments. And then you come back in the house and you have a bad run or ride and you basically hold on to it the whole rest of the day. And what does it probably do? Probably makes you a pretty crappy spouse or friend or parent or whatever because you're like, I had this one thing and now it's terrible. And why can't I just have anything go right for me today? And you hop on this train of negativity and you just let it roll and you blow by everything and it just leaves everyone in your wake.
Yeah. Well, there's a
And
hidden. Oh, you go ahead.
and this thing like the flip side of it now is that if you don't go out and look for something and you just do it, the experience takes care of itself. If you value and lean yourself into more of this is an experience versus an expectation, the result is always going to be positive because you're just going to be in the moment, experiencing this moment for what it is of just a run. And when you get done, it is not pass or fail. It is not good or bad. It is just a session. or a run or a ride? Will there be parts of it you can look back on and think, well, it was okay. Like, I struggled here, I didn't struggle here, whatever. Sure, you're gonna have those. But if you just go out and walk out and do it, there's really nothing negative to take away from it. You're going to be able to soak in all the huge benefits. Going back to like some of the things you touched on in your blog post was like of what exercise and freeing yourself can be, instead of attaching everything to an immediate outcome of every half mile or every 60 minutes of what your average watts are on the bike or what you're doing with this pace. It's just going out and like understanding that this is an experience, not an expectation. And you do your best and you enjoy it. And if you can find yourself going down that rabbit hole of, this is just fun, I get to do this, and this is so good for me, then when you get home and you check your watch, you look at it and you think, okay, that's what the some of the underlying factors or your data led to today. But that doesn't tell you and write the story. You still get to write it. These are just like very, very small footnotes at the bottom of what you just did. They are not the main headline.
Mm. When you talk about that stuff, and you talk about, how being a better father and husband and being nicer, but a bad workout can kind of like throw a wrench in that program or whatever. I just think about it like I like to back it down sort of into the simplest form a lot of times. So it's like, why do we even do any of this? And essentially that is because we want to feel good, right? We want to be in a good state of mind. We want to feel healthy. We want to have energy, all those types of things. And when we have bad workouts, those things aren't happening. So like we want to feel good so we can be a healthier person. It really doesn't, I mean, if you boil it down, it doesn't come down to the race. I think a lot of times we have, it does and it doesn't. I mean, it's like if we felt good after workouts, we probably wouldn't be as stressed about the races. Now, I think about this like if I have a bad workout, there's two things going on in my mind. One, if I have a bad workout going, I look at it as an opportunity to figure it out. Like, okay, what's going on here? Because we've talked about this a million times. Like sometimes you go out in that run and you just know you don't have it, but then by the end you're flying, right? So what is that? How does that happen, right? Um, and I think that there's ways to get through those early walls or get through those mid walls or whatever the heck it is. And to me, that all comes down to like race preparation because that could happen and most likely will happen in races too. So do you slow down or do you speed up? The one example we cite with me a lot of times is that day we were out riding and I just didn't have it and I was bitching and moaning and you were like, "You all right, dude? You gonna make it, man?" And I was like, "I just don't know, man. I don't have it." And we just
You were
starting like
so
an 80.
salty.
I was so mad. It was like an 80-mile ride, and in mile 3 and 5, I was just
But
like, "Dude, what's
wasn't
that?"
even that. It was like a quarter mile out of the gate, and I look turn around, and you're like out of your saddle, smashing on your pedals, and I was like, "Dude, what are you doing? You never stand." You're like, "Dude, I'm trying to I just got to find something I don't have it today." And you were, I remember
And
you
that
were
was it.
so pissed.
I wanted to find something. And sometimes you come out fat, you come out great and you feel awesome. And then all of a sudden it's like, uh-oh, what just happened? So it's like, it's these weird sort of biochemical reactions in our bodies or our mind or whatever it is. And I just have such a, intrigue about figuring those things out because I know there's been so many examples of it, right? How many times has that happened to you? It's probably happened dozens and hundreds of times, maybe where your workout was going one way and then it started going the other way and you had to kind of like, okay, do I need to slow down here? Do I need more fuel? Do I need more whatever? And you just figure it out. So coming down to this idea of just wanting to feel good, and then and if I end up having a bad workout, but then uh, 2 weeks before that I had a much better workout than that, and maybe longer and faster, that's the one I cling to. I just mentally do that. I was like, well, that workout sucked, but that doesn't mean that's where I'm at. I am 2 weeks ago when I crushed that same attempt. Something's just weird right now, right? And
It
then,
it also doesn't mean you suck,
right,
right? So it's like
exactly.
I hate when people use those, and I get onto our athletes like when they use any negative self talk. I was terrible today, or I sucked today. I'm like, no, you didn't. perspective and your expectations sucked, but you as a person, as an athlete, didn't suck today. You still did a session. Now, could you have, in retrospect, could you have gone back and like, oh, okay, well, I was poor. I had poor sleep, poor nutrition, poor hydration the last few days. So basically, I sucked the last 3 days in terms of like doing a pretty good job of doing like self-care, but the run itself didn't suck. You kind of just got what not, I'm gonna say you got what you deserve, but you just kind of, that's what you were today. And that's never again, like we do this when we wake up, like, oh, today's gonna be a great day. Like the sun is shining, that's beaming on my beaming on my whole life, and I'm so blessed, and things are gonna go good. And you walk downstairs, and you're going to get coffee, and you step on like a group set of Legos your kid left out, and you just like, that's it, the day's done. Today was supposed to be great, and now it's terrible. Like how often we like can change our perspective based on like a split second of what's
Yeah.
going on, and how we do that. So many athletes do that on their runs or their rides. They had this thing. I really thought I was going to be doing this, and I was really expecting, when I looked down at my watch, it was going to say 10-minute miles, but it said like 10:20s, and I just guess I didn't have it today. So I really slowed. I'm like, well, first of all, we put way too much stock in what our watch says. Like, especially if you have like for me, data, and this is why, like, I think it's useful, but I don't think it's the gospel, because your devices are to me are the equivalent of the weatherman. We still to this day check the weather. Yet we still know it is almost daily totally wrong or imperfect. But yet we plan our lives around it. The same thing goes for our watches, where if we going back to like confirmation bias, oh dude, I was on the money today. Like things are great. And then, if you want to reconcile, like, my watch, I kind of had some data drops here and there, so it really wasn't really what it looked like. And then, or we can blame it on the other end. Like it just is what it is, even in that moment. But so many times we grapple with this positive and negative feedback of, we glance down at our watch for a millisecond to see what the pace is reading, and then make an overarching decision on how the entire run is going to be, where my fitness life is now headed, and it's just disastrous, you know, and it
My
ruins your run,
fitness
instead of
life.
just exactly instead of just like not looking and then just like taking in. Or I find it really, really interesting. The more I work with athletes, the more we do these like Zoom meetings, of like how we as athletes tend to just totally bypass the fact that our environment, our atmosphere, and the conditions are such a gigantic part of the equation, that we think our fitness is just a line that can never be deterred with fatigue, stress, heat, wind, everything, and how a lot of athletes fail to reconcile the fact that the impact that has on you. But if you just go out and you ride or you run or you get to go swim, and you just do it, and you just go out to do it, then it's a win. There is no I failed or I passed. It just is what it is. If you're easy run, you go do easy, you win. It is a extremely successful session. If you go out to run easy and you think, oh, I should be running nines, that's my usual easy pace. Come around like, 9:01 for my zone two. And you go out and you see like 9:25s, because your body's just saying, I just want to have it
Crushing
today.
blow, man.
Yeah, crushing blow. Then biggest overcorrection of mistake is, I'm gonna speed up because I gotta be at nines today. Because if I'm not, then I mean, like, I must be getting slower. So you
Ugh.
force it and you dig yourself a bigger hole, which the next day you can't get out of. And
Mm.
just how much we overcompensate in the wrong direction, instead of acceptance of who we are and what we have for the day, and that is good, and that we shouldn't judge ourselves every millisecond of every training session. It just is. You go out, you run, you come back, you take a glance at what it was, and you 100% move on. You just move on. Your run doesn't think about you anymore. It's done. Move on to the next one.
I had my hand raised over here when you said got
Sorry.
to pick up that pace.
Yeah. you
It's
that
me. No,
guy?
I've been there. We've been. I mean, that's the thing,
Everybody's
right? It's
been
like
there, right? I
we've
mean,
all been there, and it's like that. Uh, that this is why I'm such a proponent of that negative split mentality, because it's the mentality part of it for me more than anything, because I don't care what the pace is. Well, I do, but I try not to care what the pace is early, because if you finish something strong, that is that's what we need, right? Yeah, that's the mentality. Because how many times have you gone out on a 7 or 8 mile run and felt freaking amazing for the first 7 miles, and then that last mile was tough? That's the memory. That's what we don't want, right? We want to be able to be like, okay, especially if you're training for something long. If you can go out and do 8 miles and you come in that last half mile and think, wow, man, I don't know where that came from, but that's money. And that's the memory. That's the mindset you take forward. But if you're going to go out too hard and try to self-correct the whole race or the whole training period and or session, and just create some fictional number that you want to hit just because based, and you don't think about what you did before or how you slept or all that stuff you talk about, and then you just crush yourself and you find yourself walking the last half mile, you're going to really be in a world of mental hurt. So just kind of like, that's the thing I've really been trying to think about a lot, is sort of like, all right, finish strong, because that just creates such a good momentum, and it creates that perspective of positivity and confidence. And it's confidence, man. Like if you we confidence is the like one of the most underrated things, and it's so easy if you're not setting yourself up to be a success, and you see your quote unquote failures more often than you see success. Your confidence going into a race is going to be you know in jeopardy. It's going to be that morning yips and like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm doing it. And then you're already starting off on a bad foot. You gotta, if you have confidence and belief in yourself before you get in the water, that race most likely is going to turn out a heck of a lot better, no matter how fast or strong you feel. Because you're going to be relaxed and not overreacting, and things like that. It's that general mindset you're just talking about, seeing things from a positive. That's really kind of a confidence uh, perspective in general. It's
No,
just knowing that it's going to work out.
and the fact that our triathlon training vanity dreams fall so down the list of what we, in retrospect, what we look back on as tough confidence builders that we really, really needed to be successful on race day. Like, oh, well, I could go back to that one session where I just nailed it and it felt super easy. And I felt super strong, and that gave me all the confidence I need today. And that's what I was looking for the past few months. Like that's the dream you have. That's what you think needs to happen in training. That you keep, but no, it's the comment. Because I read this all the time with athletes. Uh, I'm so proud of this run. It wasn't perfect, or this ride, or whatever. It wasn't perfect. I didn't feel that great. The conditions were crappy. It was windy. This went wrong, but I did it. I completed it, and I'm really proud of myself for doing it. It wasn't fancy. It wasn't this superficial thing that you can look at and post where people are going to make a snap judgment. Oh, you're so great, or oh, you're wonderful, or oh, you're crushing it. It's this internal drive, this internal accomplishment that no one can take away from you because you went through again, the experience. Nothing great really ever comes from something easy. It comes from hard work, and it comes from you continuing to get out there each and every day relentlessly through the successes, through the failures, through the obstacles, through the super easy days where running just feel, we all have this day where like we get on the bike and it just flows. We get in the swim and we're just in a groove. We put on our run shoes and we're just running with wings. Like those days feel good, but when it comes like the week before the race or even in the race, when you're going through, because we never go back down our triathlon training memory lane when things are going great, because we're like, this is cruise control, baby. Like I know what I'm doing. This is awesome. We go back down memory lane when life sucks or when training sucks, right? And or something's happening in your race and you have this huge obstacle or you get a flat tire or your legs don't feel good, you don't go back down your to your vanity dream pipe thinking, but man, all those days felt so good, like what's happening? Because that's all that's going to do is reinforce the negative experience. What you grab onto and what you gravitate towards those experiences and those memories of, dude, you've been through this.
Yeah.
You've gone through these tough times. You can do this. You've been there. And if you take those, again, those experiences with you, those are the ones that matter. Those are the ones that mean the most when push comes to shove of, like, that's what I want. If I'm looking to build my friend fortress of people who are going to help get me through a tough time, I'm not looking for the people that have had what they might consider a cakewalk through life. I'm looking for the people who have been through the shit. They know what it's like. They've been there. They know it's going to be. They know the bad things eventually get better. They know how to navigate them, and they know that most things pass. And that's the kind of people you want in your corner. And those are the kind of experiences you want in your corner. If you go out and you have to have the perfect pat run every time or the perfect ride, and you don't put yourself in uncomfortable situations, then you're never going to know uncomfort in a race because you're going to quit before it gets to that point, because it's not your level of comfort to where you feel like you can succeed. You have to be able to be okay with those experiences, and in order to be okay with them, you have to have not just one of them, but multiple. Like, there is no experience from randomness. Like, you have to go through it for a long period of time, or frequently, and that's just part of the process. And I think that we so many times look for the headline workouts and the headline sessions and the perfect days, but when you look back and think, man, I knew when I got out of bed this morning I was not going to have it. Like, I think we all had that. Like, we have a big session coming up, especially like at the end of a block or even at the end of a week when the week has been, work is this, or kids are this, or just life is super stressful, and you've had a lot of hard training sessions, and you maybe did like a long bike ride on Saturday, and you wake up on Sunday morning, your feet hit the floor, and you think, oh God, this is going to suck. Like, this is going to be a really, really long day, but you get out and you do it. And two things happen that I consider, and this almost always happens: two wins. One, you got out and did it, and you completed the task, which is a gigantic win. What even more oftentimes happens is, man, coach, like, I was totally dreading this run. It was going to be hot. My legs were tired. First 2 miles, like, I could not get my legs to open up, but then at like miles 3 and 4, they started to open up, and then by the end, I didn't want to quit running. But if you had made a jump, not a jump, if you had to make a very minute to minute decision before you started, you would have made that excuse of, what I probably don't need today is I don't need to do this at all. I just need to just not do it. I need to go on a little walk, or I need to take a rest day. But you did it. You put yourself in a situation to where, as athletes, you don't know if you're going to quote unquote win, if it's going to feel easy. You walked into the workout not knowing how it was going to go, and even expecting that it might be a rough go with it. But you know what? You laced them up and you got the shit done. You did it anyway. That is even a double win. But so many athletes only look for that, I've got to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I've got to see the sunshine. I've got to see the no breeze. I've got to see the perfect temperature. Because if not, I'm either going to call it a day or I'm going to hit the treadmill. It's like there's just so much value in, as long as you're being smart and responsible, there's so much value in the things that aren't shiny, the things that you feel like are the moments and the experiences in our training that you look back on it when you cross the line on race day and you finish, and you look back and you think, I got here because of this. And it's never the shiny, easy stuff, because you don't remember those. They're not seared into your brain as an experience. They just happened, and they were so effortless and freeing that you just blew past them, and the next day you forgot about them.
Mhm. Well, it's kind of back to that old adage, never believe how you feel, because it's going to change. And
Hmm.
the idea of getting out of bed on a Sunday after a long ride and not feeling it, and knowing that your feet hurt and your legs hurt when you get up, and but still crossing that bridge to get out there. And now you've got what? You're not going to go out there and start crushing it from step one. You're kind of looking at it like, okay, I got to be careful here. I got to be patient, and I'm just going to see what happens. Your expectations go away. And that, to me, frees up your brain and frees you up. So maybe there's something about that in there that, you don't expect any kind of good run, and then it happens because your expectations are lowered, but you're still committed to getting through it. And that's what happens, right? It's like if you go out there and realize that you're going to go have a great run because you feel awesome, and then it falls apart, that is so much more deadly on your conscience, right? If you're like, man, I felt great today, and then you go out and it just blows up. But if you go out and you're in a bad state and you hurt and you know that this run probably is not going to be worth it, or not worth it, but like it's not going to feel good, and then you end up turning that around. Think about what that does, man. That's like those are the moments that you need throughout training, and to me that comes back to it sort of probably relaxes you, because if you go into things and you don't have that kind of pressure on yourself, I think that pays off. I was talking to one of my athletes the other day about cycling, and he just felt he threw some, had a really good ride and he was throwing good numbers, and he said, "Man, I just felt really relaxed today. It felt easy." And that to me is the whole point. It's like we always want to think that riding fast and riding hard is about mashing all the time and just like deadlifting like over and over and over and over again. But you have to swim, bike, and run to me is all about being in a relaxed state, powerful state, and just finding that groove. It doesn't always have to be like I gotta output everything I have in this next stride or this next pedal stroke or whatever. If you find a good power circle and good momentum, and it's more of a physics thing, I think that's what we need. And obviously, if you're stronger, then you can hold that longer. It's not about always 100% efforts. It's just a bit. It's about going between those zones and being able to adjust and recover in the move, on the move, and things like
Mm-hmm.
that. So I don't know.
It's just like, as with all things like triathlon and life, it's like you, you don't ask out and don't try to marry your training on its best day. Like
Mm.
we're all gonna have good days and bad days. If you're in a relationship and all you've done is have like really awesome days, you go, oh, dude, they're the one. They're the one for me. Like this, it's gotta be. Like we're never gonna fight. We're never gonna have any hiccups. Like this is gonna be perfect. I want this. Wait to have your first fight. Wait to see how you both navigate getting through hard times, and then don't judge it on the best or the worst experiences. Judge it on the middle of what happens most often. And that is usually something very not fancy, but it's something that's long lasting. And we do that so much with our training as we attach ourselves to the greatness and we don't forget it. And then we judge everything else so harshly because it isn't at the same level of what we wanted because of that one moment where it was great. Oh, well, parenting is the most beautiful, wonderful thing in the world. Everything changes in your life. Yeah, you know what? It's insanely hard. Like, that's just how it is. Parenting is incredibly tough. You know what marriage is? Incredibly hard and incredibly tough. They're both insanely worth it, but they're so tough. You just can't look for the easy. You have to understand that, again, the best and the greatest things in life come with challenge. They come with forcing yourself to not being comfortable being uncomfortable, but just understanding that not being comfortable is actually a positive. It's actually something you can grow with. And I think that's just something, especially right, not just right now, all the time, every single day of the week, every week out of the year. Like, understand that if it's hard, doesn't mean it's bad. And if you struggle, it doesn't mean you're not good enough. It at least means you're participating in what's in the job that's trying to get done, and that you are getting better, and that you're learning from the process. And as long as you apply it, it's not a mistake, it's a lesson.
All right, man. Should we? So what was your topic? Let's get into it here.
No, yeah, no, that was it, man. You took it
Oh,
right
that.
out of my mouth. You took it right out of my mouth.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, that was it. That was it. That was good.
That worked out
Um,
good, man. That
yeah, as good as
synergy.
always.
Yeah. See, I mean, there's another lesson from the podcast, right? Just let it flow.
Just let it flow, baby. But yeah, as always, we are incredibly thankful for all of our listeners. We appreciate you all tuning in, for giving us your time. If you want to check out more of the things that we offer, all the things that we do and are a part of, you can always head over to our website, C26Triathlon.com. It is where you can find all the info on coaching, our community, and our camps. Head over there, and then if you want to and haven't yet, please check out our online hub. It is growing by what seems like the minute. I'll let Mike tell you a bit more about that, but he's done just a really remarkable job of packaging and creating and organizing all the content we've created from, years, and done a really good job of laying that out in a very consumable way for you to hopefully apply it to your life and to your training.
Yeah, I think it's getting better. I'm still trying to figure out the best ways to make it digestible. The hub, you can go, if you go to the C26triathlon.com, there's an online hub preview button. And then if you're already in the hub, there's a button like a box that you can click and go right to it if you're confused by that. But there's a lot of videos in there, and I'm just trying to add content on a daily basis. That's either stuff we've accumulated over the years, or new ideas or new thoughts, and training videos and bonus podcasts and athlete profiles and articles and all kinds of stuff like that. We're just trying to build a really fun, informative community, and it's sort of it's a good way to help our podcast keep going and everything like that. But and there's also something I want to talk on. We talked about it a little bit, but this beginner's guide to triathlon that we've been working on for quite a while, and I just got that posted. Essentially, it's a kind of an online 10 chapters of kind of an online ebook, and it's for beginners, but in true C26 fashion, we've kind of tried to make it meaty, not too much, but give people the right perspective on what it takes to do triathlon, and get them in the right mindset to succeed. And so we've taken them through the basics and all that stuff, and we look at finding your why and how to develop that, and then how to keep it fun and all these sorts of things. And I think it's even good for people who've been in the sport for a while to kind of refresh their memory about why they started and why, what to think about as you go. It's sort of our podcast philosophy encapsulated in a beginner's guide in a lot of ways. So if you go to the homepage of our website, there's a box there that says click here for the beginner's guide, and it takes you through an outline of 10 chapters. It's pretty easy to follow. And that's totally free, and it comes with a sprint and an Olympic plan, 12-week plans for each. And I just think it'd be great if you guys could share it with friends that you have that might be thinking about getting back into shape during all this, and or have been talking to you about triathlon or curious. It's a good introductory piece of multimedia for them to check out. So that's at C26triathlon.com. The
Absolutely,
beginner's
man.
guide, 10 pages.
You did an excellent job.
Thank you. I couldn't have done it without you, as usual. So that's what's going on with C26. Hopefully some races going on soon, buddy.
Yeah, we'll get it. We'll have some, and we'll be there when they come.
Yeah, full force.
Yep.
Any other news?
That's all I got, man.
All right, well, everybody keep your head up, and get out and, well, it's sunny here. It's beautiful, so I have to get out and do that
too. Get out and enjoy it, man.
Mm-hmm. I've been taking my plantar fasciitis slowly. I feel like I'm healing in a good way rather than some kind of quick fix. So
long-term and sustainable.
Yeah. I want to. That's a perfect example, actually, of a lot of times we want to rush through that, and I've been just trying to, like, okay, so is this happening because I'm tight on one side, or I'm out of balance, or whatever? And I think that's kind of what it boils down to. So I've been really trying to stick with these exercises and strengthening, balancing both legs, and kind of working my calves and all that sort of thing, because I want to come back strong. I don't want to have to be dealing with this forever. And again, that's an opportunity right now because the pressure's a little bit off. You can be a little bit patient and then address those issues right now.
That's it. Patience always wins.
Sure seems like it, doesn't it?
It does, man. It does. And we appreciate all of you for being patient yet again today. We hope you have a good week, and we will be back, and we will see you on Thursday.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. See you.